The G20 is one of the most influential platforms on Earth, bringing together major economies to shape global decisions. This year, South Africa held the presidency, and what transpired left diplomats and leaders and millions who watched from afar in shock. Today, we unpack what really happened, why the United States refused to show up, and how South Africa responded with a message the whole world is talking about. And trust me, you'll want to hear the ending. The G20 is no longer just 19 countries and the European Union. For the first time, the African Union joined as a permanent member, marking a huge milestone for African representation under its presidency. South Africa invited 16 additional countries, many from Africa, along with regional economic communities and key financial institutions. The idea was simple: Africa's voice should not just be heard, it should be impossible to ignore. Every G20 member attended this year's meetings, except one. The United States is a founding member of the G20 and the country that will host the summit in 2026. Yet it decided not to attend either the G20 Leaders Summit or the final meetings leading up to it. It claimed that South Africa was committing genocide against Afrikaners and was seizing land from white citizens. According to South Africa, this is absolutely not true, and those claims are misinformed. Curiously enough, while the U.S. government was absent, American businesses and organizations participated with much enthusiasm at events such as the Business 20 Summit and the G20 Social Summit, and South Africa welcomed them with open arms. As protocol dictates, South Africa officially passed the 2026 G20 presidency to the United States at the beginning of this week. Then things started heating up. Former U.S. President Donald Trump issued a statement implying South Africa would not be invited to the G20 when it is hosted in the U.S. He reiterated those same allegations of genocide and land confiscation, allegations South Africa says are completely untrue. South Africa made it quite clear it is a founding member of the G20. It cannot be uninvited. Its membership is permanent. Instead of responding with hostility, South Africa replied with calm strength. They made it clear that they would remain a fully active member of the G20. They expressed their deep value for the American people and even acknowledged that the U.S. Bill of Rights helped inspire South Africa's own constitution. They reaffirmed their commitment to respectful dialogue between equal sovereign nations and underscored the fact that the two countries share common values and interests, including seeking prosperity for their citizens. In short, South Africa opted for diplomacy over division. And this is just part one of this unfolding story. How will this diplomatic tension shape the next G20? What does it mean for Africa's rising influence on the global stage? And how will the United States respond to South Africa's firm but respectful stance? All of that is coming in the next parts. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like the video, subscribe for more global political stories, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Was the move right for the U.S. or not? Stay tuned for part 2 that comes next. South Africa believes that the stance taken by the United States administration wasn't formed in isolation. According to South African leaders, it was heavily influenced by a long-running campaign of disinformation spread by groups and individuals both inside South Africa, in the U.S., and elsewhere around the world. And this is more than just talk. South Africa says these false narratives are doing real damage, harming national interests, threatening South African jobs, and weakening relations with one of their most important global partners. So South Africa delivered a reminder. They are a constitutional democracy. Their Bill of Rights enshrines equality before the law. Their judiciary is independent and protects the rights of all their citizens. And their history from struggle era to democracy exhibits a powerful practice of dialogue and problem solving. And in their view, South African problems ought to be resolved by South Africans. That is why the government has initiated a national dialogue, inviting people from all walks of life, every race, and every belief system to help shape a new future in the country, inspired by the spirit of Nelson Mandela and the leaders who built modern South Africa. The message is clear. No one will be left behind. Every voice counts. Even those spreading misinformation are welcome to bring their concerns and offer real solutions, rather than to fuel division. South Africa says it will not allow outsiders or interest groups to redefine the nation or create fractures among its people, because South Africans know exactly who they are. They live together, work together, study together, laugh together, and even play together. They pray together, mourn together, celebrate together, and when challenges strike, they stand together. That unity is woven into the country's identity, and the message is simple: to overcome the problems facing the nation, South Africans must focus on the task at hand, unite, and work determinedly to build a peaceful, prosperous, and stronger country. Just as the nation's athletes have time and again shown, South Africa is strongest when it stands together. But the impact of the South Africa G20 presidency goes way beyond diplomatic speeches or warm welcomes. From day one, South Africa placed Africa's growth and development at the center of the G20 agenda, and they did this during one of the most turbulent moments in modern global history, when wars, conflicts, economic inequality, and the growing threat of climate change are reshaping the world. These are global challenges that are causing widespread hardship, slowing growth, weakening investment, and shaking economic stability, in particular for countries of the global South. And the leadership of South Africa wanted to make sure these realities would not go unnoticed. It is a struggle to live every day for millions in South Africa. People are waking up to poverty, unemployment, and increased living costs each morning. In many communities, poor service delivery exacerbates all these pressures. This, in essence, is the reality with which South Africans are faced daily. And it's for this reason that unity and collaboration are emphasized by the government as being very vital to progress for the country. South Africa argues that when the nation works together, progress becomes possible, and recently, they say, the first signs of recovery have begun to show. Unemployment has slowly started to decline in the last few months. Public finances are improving. National debt is being reduced step by step, and for the first time in years, South Africa even earned a sovereign credit rating upgrade. According to a leading South African business leader, the country has turned the corner after a decade of decline. He said the economic path ahead looks better than it has in years. But economic recovery is only one part of the challenge. South Africa is also confronting deep social issues, especially crime and violence, most painfully, the violence committed by men against women. Just over a week ago, the government declared gender-based violence and femicide a national disaster. This status gives the country more tools, more resources, and more urgency to fight what leaders describe as a national pandemic. While some groups use the G20 moment to spread division and push countries apart, South Africa says it used its presidency to promote unity, humanity, and cooperation. Throughout the summit, leaders made it known that shared goals outweighed the differences. The final leaders' declaration agreed to by all members as proof, they say, that global cooperation is still alive. This matters because the G20 isn't just any forum. It constitutes about 85% of the world's GDP, over 75% of global trade, and 2/3 of the world's population. In other words, when the G20 agrees on something, it affects almost everybody on the planet. South Africa was also committed to inclusivity, ensuring that the priorities of Africa were represented. Through consensus with the leaders of G20, they reached agreements that have the potential to benefit not only South Africans, but also millions more on the African continent and beyond. Of the many big issues debated, the crushing weight of national debt certainly ranks high. Many countries, especially in Africa, end up spending more money paying back debt than they can invest in schools, hospitals, or infrastructure. Leaders of the G20 committed to establishing new mechanisms for debt restructuring, with the aim of bringing down borrowing costs, providing further debt relief, and ensuring easier access to more affordable financing from international development banks to developing nations in crisis. This isn't policy, it's a lifeline. The G20 leaders also acknowledged a reality that vulnerable countries have been shouting about for years, that climate change is hitting the poorest and most fragile communities the hardest. At this summit, world leaders agreed to increase funding to support such countries in preventing climate disasters, protecting their people, and rebuilding when destruction strikes. For countries like South Africa, moving toward a low-carbon future requires a just energy transition, one that does not abandon workers, local businesses, or entire communities. Another important breakthrough came on the issue of critical minerals. These are metals and resources that the world urgently needs for batteries, clean energy technologies, and modern electronics. The G20 agreed to help ensure that countries where these minerals are found, such as South Africa, benefit directly from them, meaning minerals shouldn't simply be extracted and shipped off as raw materials, but that nations should And as this chapter closes, South Africa thanked its citizens for hosting what many are calling one of the most successful G20 summits in recent history. It was a moment of pride, not just for the country, but for the whole African continent. The message was simple. Africa has a voice. Africa has influence. Africa is rising. Brothers and sisters across Africa, we'd like to hear from you. What are your views on South Africa's role in the G20? What part of this story interested you the most? Share your comments in the space provided below. And do remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories across the continent. Thanks for watching. God bless Africa. God bless South Africa.